The Freemasons in the 20th Century with Sam Kilgore, Lydia Rhodes, Lindsay Wilbraham, and Angus MacMillan.
Freemasonry is one of the world's oldest and largest fraternal organizations. Members assemble in lodges to enact rituals that convey lessons of self-improvement and fraternal obligation. They also participate in convivial gatherings, charitable activities, and public rituals like foundation stone-laying ceremonies. Masonry teaches its members to build themselves into better men by pursuing brotherly love, relief, and truth. It promotes belief in a universal human family whose members are equal in the eyes of God. The institution of Freemasonry keeps membership requirements to a minimum. Any adult man who believes in the existence of a supreme being, described as the great architect of the universe, is theoretically eligible for membership. To preserve a tolerant atmosphere, Masonic regulations forbid the discussion of politics and religion in lodge meetings. Relief is an equally important Masonic principle. Shared ideology and ritual practices create a deep sense of fraternal obligation. Finally, Freemasonry teaches its members to pursue truth. The Brotherhood does not insist on one truth, but rather urges each member to walk its own path to enlightenment and to act, or to become a moral and wise man. Brethren learn a new ritual as they pass each level or degree in Freemasonry. Craft Masonry consists of 3 degrees: Entered Apprentice, Fellow Craft, and Master Mason. The allegorical rituals convey Masonic principles to initiates and members. Combined with an elaborate system of secret handshakes, passwords, and symbols, Freemasons are able to identify and communicate with one another. Finally, the Freemasons create fraternal bonds among the brethren.
English-speaking Freemasonry continued to prosper, especially in its capacity as a bulwark of imperialism in the years before and after World War I. Freemasonry did not fare well in the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century. The order was banned in Italy under Benito Mussolini and in Spain under Francisco Franco. Freemasons were among the many targets of Nazi repression. Increasing pressure in the public and professional sectors forced individuals to choose between remaining in their lodges or limiting their career opportunities. Many former lodge members holding positions in the civil service were forced or harassed into retirement. In May 1934, the Ministry of Defense banned membership in lodges to all personnel, soldiers and civilian employees. During the summer of 1934, after Heinrich Himmler and Reinhard Heydrich completed their takeover and centralization of the Gestapo, the German police forcibly closed down many Masonic lodges and branch headquarters of the Masons and confiscated their assets, including their libraries and archives. Freemasonry also became a particular obsession of the Chief of Security Police and SD, Reinhard Heydrich, who counted the Masons, along with the Jews and the political clergy, as the most implacable enemies of the German race. In 1935, Heydrich argued for the need to eliminate not only the visible manifestations of these enemies, but to root out from every German the indirect influence of the Jewish spirit, a Jewish, liberal, and Masonic infectious residue that remains in the subconscious of many, above all in the academic and intellectual world. Nazi propaganda continued to link Jews and Freemasons. Julius Streicher's virulent publication, Der Stürmer, the Assault Trooper, repeatedly printed cartoons and articles that attempted to portray a Jewish Masonic conspiracy. Part of their propaganda campaign against Freemasonry, the Nazis and other local right-wing organizations mounted anti-Masonic exhibitions throughout occupied Europe. German-occupied Paris hosted an anti-Masonic exhibition in October 1940, as did German-occupied Brussels in February 1941. Displaying Masonic ritual and cultural artifacts stolen from lodges, such exhibitions aimed to ridicule and direct hatred towards Freemasons and to heighten fears of a Jewish Masonic conspiracy. German wartime propaganda, particularly in the army, charged that the Jews and Masons had provoked World War II and were responsible for the policies of U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt, who was identified as a Freemason. Hitler expanded upon these thoughts in his book, Mein Kampf.
The Jewish influence through the stock exchange grows with terrifying speed. He becomes the owner, or at least the controller, of the national labor force.
The strengthening of his political position, he tries to pull down the racial and civil barriers which at first still restrain him at every step. For this purpose, he fights with all his innate thoroughness for religious tolerance, and in the completely deteriorated Freemasonry, he has an excellent instrument for fighting out and also for putting over his aims. By the strings of Freemasonry, the circles of the government and the higher layers of the political and economic bourgeoisie fall into his nets without their even guessing this.